Hello, garden friends. Well, it's been a minute since I did a video, and yeah, so much has changed in the couple of weeks since my last video, and I cannot wait to show you. There's some massive changes going on here. First, though, I apologize for not doing any videos recently. It's it was end of May, now we're at end of April, and now we're into the second week of May, and this is my crazy time where everything seems to come at me at once, and I never seem to have enough time to get any of it done. And this year, despite getting rid of some things off my schedule, it just doesn't seem to be any different. So I think part of the problem might be that I keep adding garden projects. But anyway, so I've just been, and my husband's been helping me, I've just been diving into some of these projects and getting a bunch done. So I want to take you around and show you all the exciting things that are happening, and yeah, give you a full, thorough update of all the gardens and vegetable gardens and projects. But first, let me turn around and I'll show you what's going on behind my shoulder. So here we are in front of the greenhouse, and you probably noticed this patch of plants behind my shoulder. Let me show you what I got. So this tree is a Royal Star magnolia. And about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it was in full flower, totally covered in white flowers. Now the flowers are dying back, but here's a fresh one here. They are just so beautiful. The little petals look like ribbons. And now they're looking a little bit like tattered ribbons, and the leaves are starting to come out. This is going to go on the eastern slope of the barn, and up against the red barn as a backdrop. That's going to be just the most lovely tree. Over here we have a double file viburnum, and I will put the variety name down below. And it's already, I just scared away a bunch of bees and other insects, but the bees are already coming to this, and this again is going to go in front of the red barn, and I think the white flowers are just really going to sing against the red background. This little fuzzy thing, which has ribbons, the little petals of the magnolia in it, is a whipcord western red cedar. And it's just the cutest little thing. I had to have it. I was at the nursery and I walked by it and I said, nope, gotta have that. And it'll form a fairly sizable mound, roughly 4 to 5 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide, with these long branches, I guess. They just look so cool. So that is also going to go in front of the barn. And then, sing over here, I've got a few ivory halo dogwoods that are actually going in the pond garden. Then I've got 3 back here, these 3. Katsura Japanese Pieris. And they're looking a little battered. And let me see, this right here, this is the new foliage. When I bought them a few weeks back, they had just come off the truck from their grower, and they were full of all those new shoots, new blooms. And I brought them home, I tucked them next to the carport, and the very next morning it was 25 degrees. And so all of the new growth got toasted, absolutely toasted. It's just done. They'll be fine. They're just going to look a little rough this season. So I'll get them in the ground, give them some fertilizer, and water them really well, and they'll be fine. Again, these are going in front of the barn wall, and the white flowers that they have in spring will really show up against that. And then finally, we come around this way. I have this pagoda dogwood, and this is going to go on the other side of the barn, the driveway side of the barn, where it'll be allowed to spread. Let me see if I can get the tag here. So this is, sorry, this is a Kusa dogwood. Why did I say pagoda? Anyway, Kusa dogwood. And it's just, I'm so excited to see this get in place and flower. I think it'll be really gorgeous. So you've probably noticed as I showed you these plants that the greenhouse pad really hasn't advanced any in terms of weed mat and gravel and the renovations that I talked about. And it still is a priority. However, we finally secured a spot on our electrician's schedule to be able to run electricity from the carport to the greenhouse and then down to the pond. And it's coming up in about a week and a half. And so I didn't want to start putting stuff down that I might have to take up. We have to dig a trench from the carport to the greenhouse. Actually, our electrician is going to dig the trench from the carport to the greenhouse, and then from the greenhouse to the edge of the wall, and then from the edge of the wall to the pond. It's a small trench, but still, it's going to disrupt this area a little bit. So I didn't want to lay down weed mat and start putting gravel when we're going to be kind of making a mess here anyway. So, oops. Yeah. So that's the status of that. Side note, it is black fly season. It was delayed a little bit by the epic rains we've just had. But I'm expecting at any moment for the black flies to figure out that I'm here filming without a head net. So at some point, you may see me put a head net on so I don't get bit. So let's take a walk into the greenhouse and see what's happening. Tons of things are growing now since the last time I did a video. And some stuff is actually going to start coming out onto the greenhouse pad because I'm running out of room. So let's take a look. All right, down here on the ground, I've got some catmint that is just already going crazy. Can't wait to get that out in the perennial garden. And then my Tithonias are going crazy. Some of them are they're like 6 inches tall in here. Up on the top shelf, I just sowed all of my summer and winter squashes. And I've got another tray over there of, cucumbers. More stuff. This is more brassicas. What are they? Some more broccoli, some cauliflower. That's going to come out soon. More lettuce. Let's see, let's swing back over here. These are all the Verbena bonariensis seedlings that I potted up recently, and they're really taking off. I potted them up in 3-inch pots. Normally I don't do that, but this year most of these are going to go in the perennial border, the pollinator garden, and I know it's going to be a while before they get in there, so I wanted to give them plenty of room to grow. We've got peppers and tomatoes in the back, which I finally brought out of the house because it's warm enough now. In the back corner, I've got a whole pile of, those are the sunflowers, and then zinnias, cosmos, hollyhocks. My tray of basil that I just pinched back really hard and fertilized, they're going to go out pretty soon into the herb garden. Rose campion, some more sunflowers. My parsley is looking great. Oh, we have a honeybee. Hi, honeybee. Where's this one? That's some ironweed that I grew from seed. Hopefully the honeybee finds her way out of the greenhouse. And then more perennials that I grew from seed. So yeah, the greenhouse is looking pretty full. I have planted a bunch of stuff into the garden, and I still have more stuff to sow. All right, that's greenhouse. I'm going to turn this around so you can see down into here. Let's go to the pond next. There's a lot that's been going on down there. So I'm in the driveway up above the pond, and I'll give you just sort of the panoramic view of the pond area. You probably notice that there's a lot of standing water. That's because the last 4 or 5 days, we've had so much rain. Torrential downpours, steady all-day rain on a couple days. There's just so much water coming off of the hillside and through the walls here. I don't think you can see it, but this side channel here that I dug to drain the water from the walls has been flowing steadily, as well as the one that's over there on the side. and we'll get down and take a look at it. But there's just so much water in here. Let's just take a quick walk down here, down the hill. Looks a little bit like a construction site, but I promise you, I have a vision, and all this will someday look really, really cool. Can't wait to show people when it's done. So the last time I videoed, I think I'd shown you I'd done a lot of work on this channel. It's made more progress. You can see the walls are almost finished. I just now have to hunt for the perfect set of rocks to cap the top of it with. And I've already started digging out and building the little wall that I want to put here to keep people from falling in. Actually, I had to dig out a whole bunch of grass in here. So yeah, it's been a lot of weeding. You'll notice the pond looks a little milky today. This is actually quite an improvement from yesterday. After a significant downpour, it was basically the color of mud. It settled out, but you'll notice that there are some things in it. We've got a few plants. The big green fuzzy things, and I'm going to forget the name. I probably should have brought the tag out with me. It's horn something. I'll put it on the screen. It's a great aerator, and it just sort of floats freely in the water. And then this little guy, these little round, let's see, do I get that on the camera? These little round bits are called frogbit. There we go. That's frogbit. And some more over there. I love the name because I'm trying to attract frogs here. So why not have some frogbit in my frog pond? And these are also good aerators. They just hang freely. The roots hang down and they float in the water and suck up nutrients and oxygenate the water, which is great. I've also got 4 iris, and these, here's the tag, iris versicolor. They were supposed to send me 3, but when I opened the package, there were actually 4. So I've potted them up temporarily and just stuck them here so they could stay wet. And my potting soil, special aquatic potting soil, finally arrived. So I think I could get these potted up and put in along the edges here. Over here, I've got the water lily that I want to put in the pond. And it's just resting here again, waiting for the aquatic soil. This is a white one called Hermine. I can get closer to the tag there. And I'm hoping this covers a significant portion of the pond to shade it and keep the algae that seems to be growing rampantly from growing more. The biggest addition to the pond has been this little area here. As you can see, I got the waterfall running, and I worked to disguise it, disguise the outflow box with rocks. I think I did a passable job. It looks nice, I think. And then I planted this weeping river birch. Now this birch came with this beautiful S shape to it, supported by a cane, a bamboo cane in the middle. And it will maintain this shape. I will have to, as it grows, stake certain branches if I want to expand it. I think I want to take at least one of the main branches growing laterally out on each side and stake that as well to widen the whole thing. But it will grow into a big weeping pile of birch branches cascading down over the rocks. And that's why I put that right next to the waterfall, because it kind of echoes the waterfall. I think it's stunning, the combination of the two. Let's just take that in for a minute. So yeah, and then the same day I got the birch, I also found this little frog, the big frog. And so he has taken up residence here in the pond. So let's swing over here to the bog area. And as you can see, this water is flowing pretty steadily out of the bog area. The bog water looks very clear. It's all natural spring water, so it's clear coming out of the walls. So I planted a couple things here. I've got equisetum, which is horsetail, and I love, this is another one of my bucket list plants. It's primitive dinosaur era plant. I could go all botanist on you, but I'll spare you. But yeah, it had to be in my garden. Oops, pardon the plane that is going over our heads here. And then over on this side, I planted cattails. And these are a variety, I'll put that down on the screen as well, a variety that is shorter than the typical cattail. I only think it gets up to maybe like 3 or 4 feet tall. So it won't completely overwhelm the space, but I think it'll be a nice addition here. Now, if I swing over, you can see this channel here is very definitely pouring water into the space. It's just flowing steadily out. So much water. Take a walk this way. Actually, let me swing around here. This is the southwest corner of the wall. There's the driveway up above, and that's south. This corner, as I've mentioned before, is going to become like a little seating area. So I'm not terribly concerned right now that it's covered with weeds, because all those are going to get scraped out and covered with sand and rock and stone. But yeah, it's I did a big weed there yesterday, pulled out all the burdock and almost all of the dandelions. I say I missed a couple there. But there are still quite a few rocks in this area that need to be pulled out and put on or along the pond. Just ignore that pot that's on the side. Like I said, construction area. But I really think this little area here is going to become a very sweet, calming seating area that we will enjoy in the evenings in particular. I plan to take some ferns out of the perennial border and stuff them in the wall here. So it'll have a very lush, almost tropical appearance during the summer. So excited about that. All right, let's swing over here. Go past the birch. Hi, frog. Ignore the tape measure that is on the bridge. I've started to form the first, I guess, official bed of the pond. I needed to get this birch tree in once I bought it. So created the first bed. It's going to actually, you can kind of see the outline in the water. It's going to swing out a few feet from the edge of the pond and then swing, kind of curve back in gently past the aerator rock into that next big rock. So it'll be like a circular bed here. And then the path will be right next to it. So just the path will swing out this way, cross over this channel, which I haven't figured out quite how we're going to do that yet, but we're getting there. And then duck back in by that rock. And the path will continue along the edge of the stones toward the far bridge. So over here, here's the other channel that I dug, and you can see the water is just flowing and flowing. So much water. It'll be really interesting to see this in August if this is still flowing. All right, back around. Another view of the pond. Actually, this is new as well. If you remember, I had a bright green, greenish yellow plastic tub covering the aerator motor. I've now purchased a very expensive fake rock, which just kills me because, you know, New Hampshire is the granite state. We have rocks everywhere. But anyway, so this one hides the little motor, and we'll incorporate that into this edge here somehow. It may actually move because I believe the post for the electricity is going to go right in this little corner here. And so I'm going to have to probably move this a little bit closer to here and somehow disguise the electric cord, or actually bring it on the other side. I haven't figured that out yet, but either way, it's going to get moved a little bit closer once the electricity is in. And then you can see the hose here for the waterfall. I will be disguising that with rocks once we figure out where the aerator hoses going. Maybe we can combine the two in the same space, so I only have to pile up rocks in one area. See some more frog bit in the corners there. All right, so we'll come back around. More mud. Mud. I know a lot of this is going to remedy itself once I bring in a ton more soil and raise the level up, but right now it's very discouraging. It's all clay. You dig down, it is solid clay. So yeah, the path will come around and bump in along the rock edge here and follow the rock edge right up and over the bridge. I think that I haven't 100% committed myself to this idea, but I think that this little area here, I'm actually going to close it off at the driveway with some sort of deer-resistant hedging material, maybe use. I haven't decided yet, but I need to try to discourage the deer from coming in here and eating all the lovely plants that I plan to have in here. So I may block this access off with shrubbery, and then we'll have to figure out something here because there'll be an entrance here, but I also need to figure out a way to keep the deer out, probably with more shrubs and or some sort of fence. I have a number of ideas, but we'll see what happens and what actually sticks. Take another look over the pond. All right, so that's the pond. It's definitely still a work in progress and will be for some time yet. I've got some other plants that I'm going to put in here, but really I just need to wait until it dries up a little bit so that we can actually move dirt in. It's really hard to move anything in right now except by hand because it is so muddy. So I'm hoping it dries up a little bit in the coming week. We're supposed to actually get rain tomorrow and the next day, as if we needed more rain. And so it's going to be a while before it dries up, but I will try to keep working, keep plugging away at it. And I'm so excited for this. This is so exciting. Okay, focus. So much more to show you. So I'm going to show you the chickens. We actually finally moved the chickens out to the pasture. It had dried up. This is about a week and a half ago. It finally dried up enough in the big pasture that we decided, let's just move them all at once instead of parking them up behind the house. Let's just move them all at once. And so we get them out there, and it started raining and raining and raining and raining. The poor things. So let me show you where they are and what's happened out there. So we're going to take a walk out of the pond area into the pasture. And there are the chickens. We traditionally start them up over there because it's generally drier over there and firmer for them. Little did we know that we would get epic rain. So basically the whole lower part of the pasture is like this. It's all squishy. It's all like this. It's been like this for like 3 days now. So let's slop our way out to the chickens. We actually just moved them this morning to try to get them off of the swamp that was the lower part of the hill. Hello, chickens. Sploosh, sploosh. They're all hiding under the coop right now. So we just moved them this morning a little bit up the hill. You can see where they were and what became of this area. It's basically a mud bath. Oh, chickens. Here come the chickens. Hello, girls. Hello, girls. So we have some interesting developments in the chicken world, and I'll do another video about this separately, but we have some new additions. I don't know if you can see them, like this one right here with it's hard to see. We added 20 new pullets to our flock, and we got rid of a bunch, I think almost 20, maybe a little more than 20, 2-year-olds to various people that wanted chickens. There's a new one right there. The new ones have these bright green, yellow bands on their legs, which are hard to see in the camera, but yeah. And they're basically the same Novagen brown variety as the other ones. So we still have a few more 2-year-olds that need to be retired, and we're reducing our flock somewhat. I'd like to get them down to about 50, but we're at about 65 right now. So yeah. Thankfully, this section up here is much drier and will be going around this giant spruce tree. So they'll be out of the muck for now, but as you can see, they actually like the muck, but it's just not good for their feet to be wet all the time. And they just make a big mess of it. Okay, chickens, check. We did pond, we did greenhouse. So now I'm going to take you out to the vegetable garden and show you what's been going on there. That has changed dramatically in the last couple of weeks, partly because of all the rain, but also I've been planting in there and prepping it for the season ahead. So let's go take a look there and see what's going on. All right, here we are in the garden. There's been some progress here. Sue's garlic is going crazy back there. I can zoom in. Look at that. It's almost a foot tall there. Looks great. And then up front here are daffodils that last year, it was late November, almost December, in a panic, I was like, I have all these extra daffodil bulbs. I just got to throw them somewhere to get them in the ground. And didn't know exactly where they were going to go in the shade/perennial borders. And so here they are. And they'll stay here until I decide what to do with them. Anyway, so these first, let's see, that's row 1. Row 2, actually row 1 as well. I've got something special planned for this area here that I'm not going to talk about just yet, but I will get to in another video. So rows 1 and 2 are going to be kind of like set aside. And then we're going to get into some of my neighbors' rows. I have a few neighbors that are coming over and taking space in my garden this year. Whoops, just whacked my microphone. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've got a few neighbors that are coming over to take space in the garden again this year. Unfortunately, with all the rain, you can see the soil is looking really, really, really wet. And about a week and a half ago, this was completely bare. I weeded and we had, 4 or 5 days of rain, and this is what happens. So I will have to go through and pull out a lot of these weeds before my neighbors get in here. So I think probably about to like row 7 or 8 is going to be taken up by neighbors. This row number 8, still has a tremendous hill of compost because of the potatoes I grew in there last year. I'm going to actually shave off some of this and put it into this bed. Bed number 9, which is missing its tag. Anyway, so yeah, put it into this bed to kind of even them off. Plus this bed is looking a little low. And then at some point, it will become my rows again. I'm probably going to start like around row 10 or 11. I've got some potatoes and sweet potatoes that are going to need to go in. I have my potatoes. They're almost ready. I'm going to try to put them in this weekend. Sweet potatoes won't arrive for a little bit yet. Then we get into what I've planted. This dark soil area is the first sowing of carrots. Thankfully, I sowed my carrots before the 4 or 5 days of rain. And so I haven't had to water them but once when I put them in. And then it's been raining the whole time, which is fabulous for carrots. I do expect them to start popping up soon, I hope. We'll see. Then in the next row, I planted the entire length of the row with onion and shallot starts. If you remember, I had 2 trays, 144 plug trays. So 2 144 plug trays full of onion starts, multiple onions per tray. So I filled all of the rows, all of the holes here. I put this plastic down on the onions because onions do not handle weed pressure well. And I just don't want to be weeding this all summer. So this helps. And this will be on sprinkler irrigation, which will go, you can see we ran the line is right here, but we haven't installed the sprinklers yet, and no need to because it's been raining for the last week. So this row is, it's spinach. The spinach starts that I had in the greenhouse ended up here. And then I sowed spinach seed direct. You can see there's a few seedlings popping up just before the rain started. Again, fabulous timing because I didn't have to water. And then I've got lettuce. These were the lettuce starts that I did in the greenhouse. And the rest of this row is going to be kind of a mishmash of greens that are not brassicas, which need to be under row cover. But I haven't planted anything else yet. Let's see. I have a feeling I planted something in this row based on the condition of the soil. I'm going to have to go back and look at my notes, but maybe not. Anyway, so this row, you can see they've popped up already, are sweet peas, sugar snap peas, and snow peas, where that post is, that bamboo stake is, that separates the two varieties. So these are the snow peas, and the ones ahead, get down here, are the snap peas. Now we're going to put a piece of cattle fencing, a couple pieces of cattle fencing, up on this row. Swing around here, look back at it. We're going to put some cattle fencing, stand it up on posts, and lean it up on posts, tie it off so that the peas can grow onto the cattle fencing, and then underneath on this side of the cattle fencing, in the shade that the peas will create, I'll tuck in lettuce heads and other things that need shade, or like shade, I should say. Don't think I planted anything here yet. Nope. All right, so you'll notice this row is completely covered. This is Protect Net from Johnny's Select Seeds. I will put a link in the description below, but this is all my kale and broccoli. Oops, shoot. One kale down, probably cutworms. Kale, Dino kale. Let's see what else we have here. And then we get into the broccolis. I have different types of broccoli, sprouting broccoli, heading broccoli, a couple of different varieties that I'm trying out this year. And then I think somewhere in here, it switches to cabbage. I think maybe here. So I have two different types of green cabbage, and then we end with purple cabbage down here. Now let me swing back around. This row next to it, to the right of it, is going to become the second big brassica row. I've got Brussels sprouts, more kale, more broccoli, and something else, maybe collards. They're going to go in here as well and be covered with the Protect Net until they get big enough that they're not going to be damaged too badly by flea beetles. I am trying to figure out a way to, without buying any more Protect Net, to perhaps sew two of these pieces of Protect Net together the long way so that I can keep Protect Net on them all year. Otherwise, I have to start spraying with BT to prevent the cabbage worm, which I don't, it's just a pain. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, we'll have two big rows of the big brassicas, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start like a third row where I do like arugula and the mixed greens and the smaller brassicas, or if I'm going to try to tuck them in amongst the kales and such. We'll see. This row here is my perennial storage row. These are all the perennials that I dug out of the shade garden, shade/kitchen view garden. And you see some peonies here that actually have buds on them, which is shocking because they don't usually like to be moved. Be interesting to see what color these are because I don't remember. I didn't write it down. So yeah, most of the things I tucked in here survived the winter, which I was really, really surprised about, actually. See lots of cool plants. And all of these, most of these, are going to go back in the pollinator garden. So they are all really good pollinator plants. We're just pretending we don't see the big forest next to this row. We'll get to that in a second. This carnage here is from the rhubarb. If you remember in my last video, they were just little stumps in the ground, but now they are this massive forest of rhubarb. Unbelievable. And they actually started to flower. So I was out here with a knife in the rain, cutting them off. So yeah, look at the size of this rhubarb. It's just ridiculous. So much rhubarb. Now, I have a confession to make. I'm a native New Englander, and being from New England, one has rhubarb in their yard. That's just what one does. Every place I've ever lived, you know, growing up, my grandparents, even my first little house, I had a little patch of rhubarb, and I don't really like rhubarb. I don't like it at all, actually. So I end up giving this stuff away or cutting it up and bringing it to the food pantry. Yeah, it seems a shame to go to waste, but I grow it because, you know, that's what you do when you live in New England is, you know, you have rhubarb in the garden somewhere. I'm probably going to give away a few of these plants because it's just way too much rhubarb for me. But anyway, don't tell anybody, but I really don't like rhubarb. On the other side of the rhubarb, we have the asparagus row, and it's coming up gangbusters this year. You'll notice that I'm just allowing it to come up and do what it needs to do. Last year, it was decimated by asparagus beetle, which is the first time I've ever had asparagus beetle on my asparagus, and it took a big hit. I was able to get rid of the asparagus beetle. I sprayed it with BT, and that helped us the worm of the beetle, and that got rid of it. And then I just, you know, I held my breath, and it came back last fall. So by late summer, it came back into fall. So this year we made the decision we were going to just let it be, not cut anything. I've already put some composted cow manure down on it. We're going to come back and put a heavy load of compost on top of it, and we're just going to let it recover this year, and then we'll take more next year. This will just hopefully strengthen the crowns for future harvests. Oh, looks like I've got to get in here again and cut more flowers off the rhubarb. So let's come down here. Here is lovage or lavage. I still don't know how to pronounce this herb. It is it's a plant that has a number of uses, but it has a slightly celery taste to it. I haven't tried it yet, but I need to grow it because it's sort of an homage, another homage to my Ukrainian heritage. Apparently this is very popular in Ukraine. And yeah, so here it is. I will actually be bringing horseradish into this garden, which is in another part. That was also something from my grandmother, Olga, that I want to keep growing just because. Here's my comfrey patch, and I'm probably going to grow to regret putting this in here, but here it is. I am going to be giving away some of these plants. They are just looking fabulous, but who really needs that much comfrey? Make lots of comfrey tea for the vegetable garden. And obviously when the flowers come out, it will be lovely. But this is going to quickly get out of control. So it's going to be thinned significantly. The horseradish, let me swing back around. Horseradish is going to go at this end of the garden here, where nothing else is really going to be planted. So why not let horseradish go crazy in here? And that is one of those things that once you get it in the garden, you will never get it out. I'll show you that on the way out where it is now. But I'm going to dig up and put some of them in here. All right, that's the vegetable garden. Lots going on in here. I actually do have more stuff to go in the next week. I got to get that second brassica row going in, and then more lettuce. I've got to plant radishes and beets. and a few other things that I can direct sow into the garden, but I gotta get going on that soon before I miss the opportunity for early spring crops. So, okay, that's the vegetable garden. We're gonna take a walk now back up toward the house, and I'll take you into the shade garden, and then the whole barn, kitchen view garden, and the dreaded pollinator border, and show you what's going on there. All right, on my way over to the shade garden, I thought I'd stop and show you what's happening with the herb garden. It's gonna look a little bit different this year. So here's the herb garden. Normally it starts out all clean and orderly, and then I go in and plant a whole bunch of pollinator friendly annuals, and it just becomes chaos. Not this year. This year I'm going to restrain myself and keep it to just herbs. So I've already started, even though the basils really aren't ready to come out yet. I started relocating a few things. The lemon balm that was in this corner, I split up and I've created sort of a lemon balm area. When I can get lemon verbena, that will also go in somewhere in this little area here to join the lemon thyme that I've got planted here and here. And I've got 2 lemongrass plants that will also come in here. So this will be like lemon corner for herbs. The chives are starting to come up. I do need to dig these out and split them and get all of the grass out of them. I meant to do that earlier, but like most things, it never seems to happen when I want it to. And then I brought Rosemary out from her winter home inside. So she's going to stay here all summer. The wooden wood chip path, horseshoe path that was around the center here has completely dissolved. So I'm going to have to redo that in its entirety. But that's okay. We have a whole pile of wood chips we can work with. Actually, down in front, I've got some regular thyme. I think this is just common thyme that I grew from seed, and that will grow there. Only 1 of my, or 2 of my thyme plants made it through the winter with any sort of greenery, so I kept those 2 there. Let's walk along the imaginary path. Oh, the other thing that's happened this time of year, and the reason I usually wait to get my herb garden in, all these little seedlings pop up, except for that's a Coreopsis seedling. This is all Verbena bonariensis that was in here last year and self-sowed all over the place. So I've got a ton of it. I did sow some in pots, but I may take a few of these out as kind of an insurance policy and tuck them into the perennial border. But it is all over the garden. Let's see. Oh, here's a couple of lovage, whatever, plants that came back. However, we had some sort of little critter dig a hole and mounded up all the soil, kind of like what happened in the pollinator border. So the mint that was in here, there's a couple of kinds of mint that were in here, chocolate and orange mint, kind of got buried. Thankfully, you can't kill mint, but I'm going to have to dig this out. The lovage is going to go back in the big garden in the perennial row with the others. Random tulip bulb that was here from the previous owner that keeps popping up every year. And a random parsley that came back. Weird. Anyway, this corner is traditionally my mint corner, and I know some of you are probably shuddering right now going, you planted mint in the ground. Yes, I did. And to be honest, here, it's never been a problem. And I think part of it is because it's part shade here. As you can see, it's, I don't know, about 3 o'clock. And it's been in shade here since probably about 1, maybe, or so. So there's a bit of shade here. And it does grow. As you can see, it's kind of escaped a little bit this way. But I just hack it out when it gets a little crazy. So when I go to plant my parsley, which will probably end up right here, I'll just hack out whatever mint has encroached in here. So I've got peppermint, spearmint, chocolate mint, orange mint. I think there's another one in here too. So this will become mint corner and then parsley. And then over here, swing around, This, I'm gonna pan this way. Actually, you walk down the end of the path. So there's the path to the deck. So I whacked down the sage hedge. I do that every year. I hack it back, and it usually comes back pretty well. But I'm noticing like this one and this one, they're not looking all that great. I think it just might be time to replace these. These are probably 5 years old at this point. So I think these might come out, maybe not this year, but next year. And I'll show you why in a minute. But I decided to make this sage corner. So I've got purple sage, tricolor sage, the yellow variegated sage, and I just alternated them in the bed. And then this is the marjoram, the perennial marjoram that I planted last year, these 2 mounds here. I added a golden oregano and then a variegated oregano. Oops. Where is it? There we go. Variegated oregano. I split the golden oregano plant into 2. And then here's my oregano, regular, I think it's just regular oregano. I don't think it's Greek oregano. Big mat. I really need to chop this back, but it just looks so pretty. There was a dead bit right here in the middle, and I hacked that out, but I left the rest of it. All right, so we're gonna pan this way. And if you'll notice, there's something different about this corner. There was a video back a month or 2 ago, a pruning video, where I started to prune the lilac that was here because it was so overgrown and was crowding the house and the porch or the deck. And yeah, so I hacked it back and I just kind of sat with it for a little bit. And then I realized, you know what? Just the wrong plant in the wrong place. So my husband took it out for me. He chopped it down, dug out the stump. So now it is completely open here, save for some random odds and ends bulbs that were tucked underneath it, which I have to dig up and move. Again, random tulip leaves that come up every year that never have any flowers that I did not plant. Some more daffodils and some grape hyacinths back here. Oh, and this is pineapple sage. And the leaves actually smell like pineapple. It's amazing. But I bought it for the red flowers for the hummingbirds that are now back. So anyway, my plan is when I eventually pull out these sage bushes, I'm going to replant with sage, and I'm probably going to continue the sage all the way around, with the exception of right up against the house where I'll leave a little access for Susie, who likes to sleep under the deck. So it'll be wrapped in sage. And then I have more room to plant more herbs. And I haven't really decided what else is going to go in here yet. May not make it in here this season. We'll see. I do have some lavender here. Some of it made it through the winter and some of it didn't. So I had to add a couple new plants. Oh yeah, and this is another type of sage. It's not common sage. I saved the tag. Burgarten sage, beer garden sage. The leaves are rounder and it's shorter than common sage. It's really pretty. So I thought I'd add it to the sage corner. All right, let's go to the shade garden. All right, Susie's coming with us. She thinks I just called that somebody was here, so she's checking. All right, so all of my complaining about having too much to do, and you know, as I usually do this spring, I almost forgot to just pause for a moment and take in the early spring garden. Oh, it's so pretty. I love it this time of year when everything's coming up fresh and bright green. Yay, I'm so happy with this. So here we are in the shade border, and start down at this end. And I'm not going to remember all these names, but obviously a hosta, we've got some lady's mantle. Yep, I'm going to put that name down below on the screen because I cannot remember it, but I've got 3 of them in the garden. And then some heucheras, some Roseanne geraniums, more hostas, a variegated ajuga, which is just lovely in flower right now. Some more geraniums with some weeds. This is how you tell that this is not staged for video. More hostas, more geraniums. Oh, and here is the wax, excuse me, yellow wax bells that came back, thankfully. There are actually some foxgloves in here too. Weed. This is my variegated Solomon seal, which is already in bloom. Look at that. How pretty is that? With the red stems, the reddish stems. And the clump is like double the size that it was last year. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see. And if you're wondering what these green posts are, this is my deer fencing system, which, as you can tell, I haven't put it up yet. And I need to do that soon, very soon. Oh, here we have a bumble on the ajuga. Some more heucheras. Some more hostas. Oh, and another yellow waxy bells there. The third one I had, which was over here somewhere, didn't make it. More variegated Solomon seal, and there's some foxgloves in here. I do have some gaps because the foxgloves, the second year foxgloves weren't very many. I do have, I believe these are all foxglove seedlings. So I'm gonna have to pull some of these out before I cover it all with compost and use those around the garden. But let's walk around inside here. Take a look. I just love the shade garden in early spring. It's so pretty. So here's a sweet woodruff that has gotten a little out of control. Painted fern. Lovely. More hostas, more foxgloves. What else is over here that's interesting? More hostas. This hosta, I think this was Empress Wu last year, and it's not looking fabulous. So we'll have to keep an eye on her. Up under the maple tree, I really want to get these hostas out of here and the periwinkle and all those hostas and plant it with the sweet woodruff just as a green carpet under the maple tree. I think it'll look a lot better. We are also having a tree guy come and take a look at our deer maple and give her a prune and give us some recommendations on how we can keep her happy, because we definitely want to keep her around because this garden is entirely dependent on her. Bleeding hearts that just seed themselves around, that's a seedling. And then there's one up here, right there, that needs to, I'm going to dig that out and bring that over here to kind of add to the pattern of bleeding hearts that we have in this wall. This is the regular Solomon seal in bloom. This stuff grows so fast. Just a week ago, it was like a third of the size. And then here we have the miniature Solomon seal, tiny little Solomon seal. It does have a few flowers, not a lot, but the patch has actually grown significantly since last year. So another reason to get this sweet woodruff out of here, or at least partly out of here, because I want to allow this miniature Solomon seal to spread into a huge clump. I even have some, yep, and it's forget-me-nots. It almost escaped me. Some forget-me-nots that escaped, another set of foxgloves. Here's the gas tank. The Hanakakloa came back. I didn't check to see if the other one did. I don't think it did. Oh well. More lady's mantle, more variegated Solomon seal, Carex, Susie in the garden where she shouldn't be. Hi, Susie. You doing all right? Yeah, good girl. All right, so this is Annabelle. I haven't moved Annabelle yet. Like I said, I was going to up to that corner. It is happening soon because I ripped out all of the daylilies and weeds and junk that was in this corner and transplanted the Solomon seal and ferns from this bed, the patio bed. As you can see, it's already overgrown with hostas, ferns, and Solomon seal. It's like, it's insanity. So here's Annabelle in the middle of the chaos. All of that Solomon seal that was over by the other Annabelle came from this little corner right here. That's it. I have all this. So I think a lot of this is going to go to the curb, and my neighbors are going to benefit. I think some of it might actually make it into the pond garden in the shadier corner. There's a spot I have in mind for it. So, and then I've got plenty in the upper bed and this lower bed. So I will never be without Solomon seal, but this is just ridiculous. Okay, we're going to go up the stairs. We're going to pretend we don't see the pollinator border. We're going to go see what's happening in this section. Okay, so we're up in the upper levels of the kitchen view garden. And this lower level here, I showed you a couple of shrubs that I had on the greenhouse pad that I think are going to go in here, the Weigela. Weigela. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll put the name down below. Yeah, those are going to go here. And then most everything came back in this upper border. These peonies you didn't really see in the fall because they were dormant. They've come up. I think these are bright pink. They're either bright pink or white, but I'm pretty sure they're bright pink. We'll see. The catmint came back as well, looking great. And then the boxwoods, I gave a haircut because they had some serious winter kill. And they're looking great already. You can see we've marked out the pathway. That's going to be the next big project. So these hydrangeas made it. Where is my tag? These are paniculata. Why can't I read that? Wine red. I will put the name down below. Something red. Fire and ice. So they start out white and then they fade to red to be really pretty. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Yep, blanking on the name right now. Hold on. So this is a Mount Airy Fothergilla. Look at how pretty that is. I love it. Over here, my sky pencil holly took a bit of a hit with some winter kill, but I managed to trim off most of the dead leaves, and it seems to be doing okay. And then this hydrangea here, this is, see if I can read that, it's a paniculata twisted shout, and it's kind of looking a bit rough. We have some shoots here. I haven't cut anything, I just let it sit to see what came out. But it definitely took a bit of a hit. So we'll see. I'm just gonna leave it alone and see if it bounces back this year or not. And if not, maybe take some cuttings and see if I can revive it. But yeah, I think that was really the only one that didn't do particularly well. Over here, my leucothe actually is looking a little bit rough, but I think that I can trim off some of this winter kill, and it'll be okay. Because it looks okay down in here. But yeah, there are a number of things that took a bit of a hit this year. I have a little bit of ajuga going on here, and then my poor sad Dark Lord Rhodie. I keep hoping it's going to revive. I did add some soil acidifier, some peat moss and compost and fertilizer. So we'll see if that helps perk it up a bit. More Solomon seal. The Carex I had to give a big haircut because it was just looking pretty rough. It's put out these little flowers, and then you can see some new growth coming from the center. I discovered some more lily of the valley that I thought I had gotten all out. Clearly I missed that root, so I'll have to dig that out. Some anemones. I can't remember the variety name. I will put that in the comments. Unfortunately, there was another variety of anemones down here that I don't think made it. Right here. These are looking pretty crispy. So I don't think these made it. I'll wait a little bit longer to see if anything comes from the roots, but I don't think they're gonna come back. Back here, whoops. The astilbes are up, looking much better. They seem much happier here. More hostas, some lamium back there. Everything is just like going crazy right now. Some more astilbes. Yep. Not remember the name of this, but I will put that in the comments below. I want to say Black Knight or something black. Simsifuga. Yep. And there's another one of those big ones that were in the lower part of the shade garden that I'm totally blanking on. Boy, I was not prepared for this video. Kind of did this on the fly. I'll show you why my brain might be a little bit addled in a second. More foxgloves and daffodils. So yeah, the shade garden is just crazy right now. I love it. It's so pretty. Lots of work to do, but still very pretty. Okay, I'm gonna swing around and you can see we've started defining the pathway. We've also started planting the barn slope garden, and this is all orange daylilies, dish lilies that were taken out of the bed down in the shade garden that I put the new Solomon seal in next to the Annabelle hydrangea. So I think I dug out 4 or 5 plants and split them up into all of those, plus some daffodils that were in that area that I sprinkled around. I will continue to transplant daylilies down the slope and try to fill most of the slope with the daylilies. But walking up the new path, this side of the garden is where most of that plant material that I showed you on the greenhouse path is going to end up. In front of this wall here. So if you can picture that bright white magnolia right about there, which from the kitchen will disguise the end of the shed row, so you can't see the equipment in there. And then the viburnum is going to go in between these 2 windows. The Annabelle is going to be over here. It's going to be lovely. And then I have this whole bed here to plant. And this pile was like 4 times the size. Yeah. And yeah, my husband and I spread this morning, and that's why I'm a little tired. So yeah. And then on the other side, really I'm just delaying showing you the pollinator garden. On the other side of the barn, you can see up over there is another similar sized pile of compost that has to be spread on this section of the slope, as well as that corner of the bed on the corner of the barn, which is where the dogwood is going to go. All right, pollinator border. See, from here it looks lovely, doesn't it? Just don't look too closely because it's a mess. I forgot that I had a pile of peonies in here. And most of these are pink. There might be some white that I inherited from another house, from another friend. I'm going to have to dig those out in the fall, so they're not going to come out this year. It's better to transplant them in the fall. But a lot of this in here is that clustered bellflower. There's all kinds of weeds in amongst the Siberian iris. There are some good plants in here. There's some sedums, and these are the alliums that I have to dig out and spread. Come down the stairs without falling. Crazy creeping phlox, half of which is going to go up into the rock garden behind the barn. And then the sedum, a lot of this is going to go up onto the rock wall too. But as you can see, there's a ton of the grass, the runner grass, of course. So you can't just pull it out. You have to dig it out. And lily of the valley. So that's all got to get dug out. Yeah. And there's more. You can see there's grass in here amongst the bee balm. So again, a lot of this bee balm is going to go. But all of this is going to have to be dug out. There's a weed there. This blank spot was where a lot of the bearded iris were. Missed one, obviously. So yeah, it's kind of a mess. But I'm anxious to get started on this. All of that up there is bee balm. That is all bee balm. Yipe. Okay, trying not to get discouraged here. More Siberian irises, and over here, more Siberian irises. Some of these are going to go into the pond garden, which would be great for them because they actually do like the conditions of the soil to be more wet. There's a charming little native columbine, unfortunately about to be swallowed up by more bee balm, which will get ripped out. Isn't that cute? I actually have more of this in the vegetable garden in that perennial holding row, so we'll get more of this into the garden. Let's see, what else? Well, it's basically just a big pile of weeds with some beautiful perennials in it. Here's that one little section that I showed you with the sedums and the catmint. And then these are alliums. I think these are the white ones. We'll see in a little bit, but very quickly, the runner grass is encroaching back in on it. So I need to get all of this out soon. I'm encouraged to see that a number of my perennial grasses did make it through the winter. A couple didn't, but majority of them did. So that's good. But this over here is all weed. Yeah. Aye. But from this angle, it actually looks quite pretty in the afternoon light. I don't know if you saw in that last shot, but my husband is out there working the bees and taking the cozies off, the bee cozies. I'm going to stand here and stay far away. But yeah, we lost a hive. We had 2 hives going into the winter, and we lost one. So we're down to 1 hive. But he's got some swarm boxes that hopefully he will be able to catch a swarm this year. All right, well, that was the grand tour of the farm. Hopefully it was enjoyable for you. A bit of a longer video than I typically do, but I wanted to make sure you got to see everything in its current state and kind of make up for the fact that I haven't done videos in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, everything is growing and moving all at once, and I am swimming right now thinking that I'm not going to get any of this done, but I know I will. I'll get not all, but a lot of it done, and it will look amazing. I just have to keep that vision in mind. What the final vision is in my head, and I know when I get there, it'll all be worth it. Thank you for sticking with me through this whole video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.